In almost 10 years ago, I left the corporate world and I worked for a company in Amsterdam, and we were building tools for refugee populations. And we got the same award that put Twitter on the map. We got a UNESCO recognition for our work with Syrian refugees. And that time, that company had thousands of communities. They were getting lots of recognition in the international media. And it's almost 10 years later, and none of those communities came together. And I'll tell you why. It's a consistent theme. People will step off the golden path because they're looking for the get rich quick. That happens over and over again, and that's what happened. They were hoping to receive a substantial infusion of capital that will allow them to buy outcomes, and it didn't come together because it was not honest or sincere. It was not a real thing, and as a consequence, faith in their endeavor faltered, and they collapsed. And I've seen this happen over and over again. Likewise, I took what was left of my engineering team. Well, look at that. Yeah, Texas. I took the what was left of my engineering team and I restructured it as my company, 214 Alpha, and then I redesigned the economy for the U.S. market, basically to boost the efforts of nonprofits and churches and those who are actually doing community efforts. And over again, I've had people work with me that'll decide they're going to chase grants, and instead, because they think that's easier, and they have squandered years of their lives trying to get rich quick, because that's what it is. Although the grants are even like kind of uglier, because you don't get to use grants to pay payroll. You actually you have to use them on programs. So, a lot of nonprofits chase grants in exchange for failing to pay their employees a living wage. So, this is like a thing. So people will position themselves and say, I can help you get across the line. You're going to have all this money. And that's the invitation to step off the golden path. The golden path is to stay in the trenches, do the work. And by that, I mean, don't write about it, do the thing. Sit with a person, listen to them, don't talk, listen, try to understand what they need and try to make them successful. Get this guy I work with, Patrick. Patrick's the CEO of Terra Global. Every time he hears no, he receives it as an invitation to understand the other person better. So he stops talking and he starts thinking about how to ask questions about what's not being said. The guy is a master. And as a consequence, you end up doing that thing where you get deeper relationships because you're actually creating collaborations of substance. And that's the thing. So I just met this guy, and he's talking about, well, it seems really promising. We can really help you get across the line. I know these people, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, that sounds very interesting, but we have 19 opportunities representing dollars of opportunity. These are people that I've worked with for years, and I have a lot of confidence that we'll be able to get this across the line without your help, because I've actually seen this pattern before. The pattern is, you've done enough, Mr. Dahlgren, step aside, let me carry it across the line, and it kills the project. This is the thing where I learned in the tech world, big money people put big money appetite on the team, and then they spend other people's money as if they're on a Coke binge, and it sucks. So like, what we need are stewards that are willing to stay and do the ugly work and earn the calluses, and not keep waiting for a pallet of money to drop out of the sky, because that doesn't happen. It's not a real thing. So that's what I'm thinking about this morning. The other thing I'm thinking about is the fact that I just replaced the O-rings on my fuel injectors because I did it wrong. And this is completely unrelated, although it is kind of funny. I like using the internet to learn about how to work on cars. I actually went to school and learned how to work on cars, but it was a long time ago. So I watched Cooter in his driveway replacing fuel injectors on a 20-year-old minivan, and Cooter's like, yeah, I use dielectric silicon on the O-rings, which is actually a terrible idea. I didn't know that, and I had to learn the hard way. It degrades the rubber. So anyway, then I told ChatGPT, which is actually my favorite use of ChatGPT, is a sounding board for mechanical stuff. Yo, I've got this thing. And ChatGPT is working from a knowledge base, not really one of wisdom. Based on knowledge, ChatGPT would never think to ask, did you use dielectric silicon on your O-rings because you watched Cooter in his driveway doing repairs? You wouldn't think to ask that. You have to actually be in the trenches to know how to ask questions that are otherwise sort of outside the realm of people's awareness. When I finally said it, though, I was like, oh yeah, I think it's just a dielectric silicon. ChatGPT's like, wait, you did what? And like, why? And it's because that was the information that was made available. That was based on a knowledge set that I actually thought made sense at the time, because I was following the counsel of someone else. But I had to actually do it. I had to do it. And even though I like consulted the knowledge base, the chat GPT thing, it still didn't know because it wasn't within its considerations that somebody would use dielectric silicon on washers for an injector. So I did, though. I did it wrong, and then I learned it. We did it right. Sophie and I replaced them yesterday. The van runs great. So I don't know. It's not directly related, but it kind of is. The problem with not actually doing the thing is you're working off insufficient knowledge. You're actually working off bad information. In my opinion, it doesn't become knowledge until you do it, until the gnosis happens. That's how you alchemize information into knowledge. You have to actually do it and realize that there's a delta. There's a delta between what is thought to be understood and what the actual understanding is. And that's what I think people try to miss. They compile information and they present it as knowledge, and they're hoping to get a financial reward so they can buy someone else's time to bring about the outcome, which isn't how things work. Sorry, man. You got to build your own tree for it.